On the seventh of these long winter nights, a couple is targeted by hungry, speechless creatures. This story is called The Visitors.
The man with no head appears outside our second-floor bedroom window on a Tuesday night not long before Christmas. Close enough that the lights on our neighbor's balcony railing reflect off the blood pooling where his neck used to be, where something scooped the neck and head right off the body like an inverse ice cream cone. The body is dressed in a well-fitted suit, clean, except for the blood, and he just floats there at first. My wife screams and covers herself even though he can't possibly see her without a head, without eyes. "What do you want?" I call out to him, because what else am I supposed to do? Even though there are no ears to hear and no mouth to tell me, he doesn't move at first, but then starts tapping the glass with his bloody stump of a no torso, no neck situation. Thrump, 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 in perfect rhythm. Thrump, 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 blood splattering all over the window. "Hey, I'm calling 911, says my wife. I nod and go to the window, opening it just enough to fit my hand through and kind of push him away. Just to see, you know? Just to see if he stops, and he pauses for a moment and then rams into the window harder. I see my neighbor come out onto the balcony to see what all the fuss is about and stop in shock. First at the headless man hovering and thrumping my window, and then his gaze moves beyond that to down the street, where I now see a horde of other floating, headless men moving towards our apartment building. Before long, there are 100 or more headless, floating men pounding at the building. Their clothes clean and ironed and unremarkable except for the blood. Bathrobes and UPS uniforms and Santa suits, all their necks bloody and scooped out, thrumping and pounding and ramming into the walls just around our apartment. Just ours. It doesn't take long for the whole building to be awake, and the cops come while my wife and I cower in the corner of the living room where the sound is the most muffled, where we can only see 1 or 2 headless men floating by the kitchen window. The cops question us as if we did something to attract all these men, these bodies, as if we splattered the building with blood and cracked the windows in our bedroom. "We don't recognize them. How could we?" My wife and I say to the police and the manager and our neighbors. "They have no faces." "They're only going after your apartment. Why only you?" they ask us. Curiosity turns into annoyance, turns into accusations as the men continue to gather that night and over the next day or two, digging holes in the building with their shoulders, knocking down a shade tree with the sheer heft of them all, breaking through our kitchen window until a group of 4 are bouncing around our breakfast nook and smearing the freshly painted walls with their ooze. The manager kicks us out due to breach of lease, though we don't know what that means. And we don't have time to ask because the neighbors are already helping create a pile of our stuff on the sidewalk while I panic call moving companies. We're homeless before Christmas arrives, and we don't get our deposit back due to the cleanup. The moment we leave the apartment, the headless men stop pounding all at once. Most of them even bloodier and stumpier than before. At least one body reduced to only a collarbone whittled to a sharp point. And as we drive away, they fall into a pile around the building. We heard it took a couple of days to remove them all, and our neighbors and manager were stranded inside. We spend Christmas Eve on a friend's couch. Every little thump, every creak and bump in the house making us rattle down to our bones.
Tonight's door closes, but tomorrow we open another.